Resurgent India Knowledge Series presents Virtual Session on PLI for Textiles, a Game Changer. Mr. U.P. Singh, IAS, former Secretary, Ministry of Textiles. U.P. Singh is an IAS officer of 1985 batch, belonging to Odisha cadre. After a distinguished service of more than 37 years, Shri Singh superannuated on 31st of October 2022. Shri Singh did his B.Tech in Mechanical Engineering from IIT Kanpur. He followed it up with a M.Tech degree in Industrial and Management degree. Mr. Singh joined prestigious Indian Administrative Service in 1985 and has held important positions in the state as well as at the centre. Ms. Shubhra, Trade Advisor, Ministry of Textiles. Shubhra, Indian Trade Service Officer of 1989 batch. Extensive experience of commerce and foreign trade. Worked in Trade Remedy Department and also in Debt of Agriculture. In Ministry of Textiles for last 1.5 years. Mr. Bhadresh M. Dodhiya, Chairman, the Synthetic and Rayon Textiles Export Promotion Council, SRITIPC. Bhadresh Dodhiya has a vibrant personality and boasts over 18 years of experience in the textile industry. He earned his Bachelor of Business Administration degree from Schiller International University, London, and oversees the international business and financial aspects of Dodhiya Group, which includes textile, chemical, and plastic recycling segments. Mr. Gautam Jain, Associate Director Economic Growth, KPMG. Gautam Jain is Associate Director with KPMG India and has over 15 years of experience in textile industry with 7 years of industry experience working with global brands setting up sourcing base in emerging Asian textiles hubs and 8 years of consulting experience working with key stakeholders including government, private enterprises, industry associations and trade bodies on public policy, ease of doing business, investment promotion and trade promotion. He had a short stint working for retail brands in Europe on supply chain optimization and China Plus Plus strategy for de-risking supply chain. Mr. Prashant Rayzada, Partner in Direct Tax Services, AIR LLP. Prashant is a partner with AIR LLP India's indirect tax practice and is focused primarily on verticals of including auto, consumer products, real estate, fast-moving consumer goods. Also holds a Bachelor's of Law degree from CC's University and has qualified as a Chartered Accountant. He joined AIR LLP in 2017 and is based in the Gurgaon office of Ernst & Young. Prashant has an extensive experience of more than 20 years of experience in advising clients on various Indian indirect taxes and assisting on compliances in the consulting.
Good evening, friends. I'm U.P. Singh here, former Secretary, Ministry of Textiles. At the outset, I would like to thank Resurgent India and its Managing Director, Mr. Jyoti Gardia, to giving me this opportunity to discuss on something which is extremely important for the country. At the outset, I must welcome all my panelists as well as everyone who has joined online with us. As you know, today we are going to discuss about production-linked incentive scheme for the textile sector. As you know, production-linked incentive scheme, as the name suggests, it is a scheme which is linked to incremental sales. This was first launched in 2020 for 3 sectors, and then today it covers as many as 14 sectors, if I remember correctly. Of course, the major idea was to create a world champions in manufacturing sector and at the same time create a employment generation. Of course, the natural fallout would be that it will lead to import substitutions as well as it will increase the exports. Now, as you know, there are, of the 14 sectors which is covered, one of the important sector is the textile sector actually. And textile sector also, this is focused on what is called a man-made fiber and technical textile. Now, this is not a forum where I need to tell you about the importance of textile sector. Of course, we all know that the basic necessity of any human being is roti, kapra or makan. So one of the basic necessities is fulfilled by textile industry. Apart from that, of course, there are its contribution to GDP, the second largest employer in the country, its contribution to exports, all those are well known to everyone. So I would not like to take more time because we would like to hear, we have a great panel cutting across, one from the ministry, one from the industry, and two from the knowledge partners who work with the industry. So in today's session, I would start with Mrs. Subhra. She is the, as intro, she is the technical, she is a trade advisor in the Ministry of Textiles, and she is the nodal person as far as the implementation of PLI in the Ministry of Textile is concerned. So Shubhra, I would request you to very briefly, I know this is the scheme is a big one, but very briefly you tell the salient features of this scheme. What is the rationale behind launching this scheme, and what is the present progress of the scheme since it has been launched? Over to you, Shubhra.
Thank you very much, sir. And you have already given a backgrounder that makes my life quite easy. I don't have to impress upon the fact how important textile is. And understanding that importance of this sector, therefore government thought कि जो इतना बड़ा इनका PLI का plan है, उसमें textile को होना ही चाहिए. So therefore, textile was also covered for giving a PLI, Production Linked Incentive Scheme, it is called. And because we thought that textile per se is already a very traditional, it has been existing for decades and decades. So the thought process was that there is no point covering the entire sector. There should be a specialized sector. So therefore, the entire research and entire analysis was done. And it was like, zeroed in on man-made fiber sector. Therefore, we chose specifically the products of man-made fiber apparel, fabric, and technical textile. Now, technical textile also majorly is man-made fiber based. Of course, there could be some which are cotton fiber based also. But in the apparel and fabric category, why such a thing? Because somewhere, in the origin of the scheme, that was like the thought process was of making global champion. And as we all, I'm sure if the textile people at least already know, that India is seen as having quite a strong hold in cotton. Whereas in man-made fiber sector, we are not as strong as we would like to be. And world is progressing more and more in the man-made fiber sector. Therefore, this production linked incentive scheme was created to address this particular MMF segment. Now, why PLI was created and what are the salient features? If you permit, sir, I can just throw some light on that. Like rationale, I have already talked about. And what is the objective is that we could increase the size and scale, because we are, of course, a very old player in textile, but we suffer from the problem of fragmentation, small size spread across the country and things like that. So if we are thinking that the size and the scale will increase, it will enhance the competitiveness, and it will ultimately lead to a bigger share in the international market. As I said, we were talking about the global champion. I mean, the thought was that. And of course, everything, fact, or let us say the outcome of the fact is that it is going to create a lot of employment opportunities. And what are the salient features? If I talk about, basically, we since it's called production linked incentive, but actually our scheme is more of investment linked incentive. So we created two parts to the scheme. One is that where the minimum investment will be 100 crores and requiring a turnover of 200 crore minimum. And the bigger part is the 300 crore investment and a threshold in turnover of 600 crore. So it looks as if it is double. Actually, it is not a double. I mean, it is like, we picked up number 200 and 600 based on some calculation. So as long as you are in the 100 CR category, or let us say in the 300 CR category, or you have invested 500 CR, or you have invested 1000 CR, or whatever. But in whichever bracket you are, if you are in the 300 CR investment category, then as long as you have made 600 crore of turnover, you can come to us for incentives. So it's not that if you have brought in the investment of 1,000 crore, you have to do 2,000. No, the minimum turnover requirement is 600 crore. And let me tell you that, of course, what is the rate of incentive? The rate of incentive is linked to the turnover. It is 15% in the 300 CR category, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. And in the 100 CR category, it is 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. So this is how every year, and this incentive will be on the incremental growth. So first year, let us say, just taking an example, if it's a 300 crore of investment or a 500 crore of an investment, and if company has achieved 600 crore of turnover, so they are going to get a 15% on 600 crore. And thereafter, they have to achieve 25% growth. That means 600 pay 25% growth. Then once you've achieved 25% growth, you can again come to us, and on the incremental part of it, we'll give you 14% incentive, and then so on and so forth. And the response was good. We were expecting something around 60, 70 applications, and we did get 67 applications. Out of that, we have selected 64 applications. We were thinking that there will be an investment of 19,000 crore, and we have got a commitment proposals for 19,798 crore worth of investments, where the projected turnover is 1,93,926. We were thinking maybe there will be a turnover of 3 lakh, but maybe over there, I would say the companies have gone a little conservative. Maybe they thought that if we project it more, maybe they will have to achieve more. So let us see how it proceeds. So far, they are expecting that there will be so almost like 2 lakh crore ka fresh turnover. So fresh investment, fresh turnover, and an additional employment of 2.5 lakh in these people. And there were certain criteria in the scheme, like, you have to register a new company and all that has been fulfilled. And some people have also started production. So this is what the scheme is so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Shubhra. As per you, the scheme response has been satisfactory, in the sense that you said that in terms of number of companies which you are expecting is on the expected lines. Similarly, you said the investment is also on the expected lines. Of course, the turnover, the outlay for the subsidy was 10,683 crore. Of course, that includes a bit of administrative expenses also. But on their general feeling is that the total outgo, you yourself say that companies have projected their turnover little conservatively. So as a result, the projected outgo is much lower as compared to the 10,683 crore, which was available for the for the scheme actually. So I would like to now know from the Mr. Azada that do you think that the response of the industry to the PLI for textiles has been satisfactory? If you think it hasn't been very satisfactory or could have been more satisfactory, could you tell the reasons for that also?
Thank you so much for inviting me, sir. To start with, if I see the intent of the Ministry of Textile is a great intent. If we calculate, like Ms. Shubhra has explained, you have to get a growth of 25%. But if the company is able to do additional 10% growth, so that will also be counted towards your incentive. If I take an example where the company is able to do a growth of 25% year by year, then obviously they will get around 65% of their capital, they will get it back in the form of incentive. And if they're able to do additional 10% every year, which means 35% growth every year, then as per the scheme, the industrialists are able to get 95% in case they are invested 300 crores. And these figures, in case of 100 crores, come to 46% when it is they're achieving the target, and if they're achieving additional 10%, it goes to 66%. Now, to start with, as I'm saying, the scheme intent is very good. You are able to get 95% money back in a 300 crore sector, or you are in a 100 crore sector, then you are able to get 66% money back in 5 years. So, fabulous scheme. But we strongly believe, whatever discussion we have with the industry players, we believe there were certain things or certain conditions in the scheme which were slightly deterrent. Or rather, I will say they were creating some sort of a challenges to the industry. And we would have seen more application. I'm sure the application which has come up are a good number. That is what the ministry was anticipating. These many people will apply. Those things are there, but the numbers would have been much more if a condition like a separate company would not been there. The problem is if you are asking an industry player to open a separate company, then there is a challenge because they might have a land in place. They must have a collaboration with somebody else. They have already taken a loan from somebody, or loan has been sanctioned. So in these type of conditions, if you're asking somebody, "Ki bhai, stop that, whatever you have done till now, open or register a new company," that becomes a problem for the company. So that is a deterrent, and quite a few industry players spoke to us and we said ki we won't be liking to go because we can't make a new company. From where I will get the investment, how I will get the loans from the bank, and so on and so forth. Second thing which we have seen, one of the conditions which are mentioned is in the scheme is one group company, only one company will be eligible. Now there are big groups in the textile sector. They have different factories manufacturing different products, and even the ownership is separate, or I should say management was separate. So if there are different management manufacturing different products, and textile, if I take as a whole, what is the intent of the government? The government intent is to make big players. If the player is there, he is willing to invest, but since there is a condition for a group that only one company from the group can invest, that was something not liked by the company. The company would have thought there are three big subsectors or different products we are manufacturing, we all would have been allowed. So that is one thing which is something which was not liked by the industry as such. Another challenge we have seen when we were talking to the industry is with regard to the HSN based approvals. Now, if somebody is manufacturing a pattern cloth, as per HSN, he is allowed, but the end use is not allowed in certain cases. Say, for example, if you are using it as a crop cover, then the cloth is eligible for the incentive, the sale that you are doing. But if you are using for some other purpose, that purpose, if it is not allowed under the scheme, you are not qualified to get the benefit. So your sales comes down. So when a businessman invests money, he is investing money in a textile, whatever product he is manufacturing, the cloth he is manufacturing, and his intent is to sell. He is not bothered as such who is buying it, whether it is for the crop cover, or it is for diapers, or it for sanitary napkins, or something else. So the point which we are trying to say, the HSN base is absolutely correct. The ministry was absolutely correct in doing it, but the additional condition, what is the end use, that is a showstopper in certain cases. Similarly, if we see the capital infusion, in the past there has been PLI schemes where they have done the capital infusion over a period of 5 years. What we are saying here that in the first 2 years, which is the gestation period, you have to invest 300 crores. And every year you have to get a growth of 25%. If I sit in the boardroom and I am preparing a sheet out there, then I realize in the first 2 years or 3 years, my investment is so high and my production will not be there to cater the 5-year growth that I'm talking about. So there is an idle capacity which includes a cost. So the companies are getting a cost in investing so much of money. And then in the third year or fourth year, probably they may require more investment to get that growth of 25%. The production has to go up. So these type, if the policy would have said you can invest 300 crore over a period of 5 years, and they would have been slab. First year, this much minimum, say second years, this much minimum. That would have been a better way of putting the scheme. Again, when I talk about the industry's player, they were of the view that the minimum value addition of 13%, 30% in one case and 60% in another case sometimes seems to be too big. It's a value addition is too high. Like I was talking to one of the largest spinner company in India. They said our value addition is 52%. We are not able to reach 60%. In technical textile, it's a big name. I'm bound by the NDA and hence I'm not able to take the name of the companies. In technical textile, they said, we are eligible, my product is eligible, but I can't get that much value addition which they are talking about. And it's established player. If the established players, big companies are not able to get that value addition, then probably the better way would have been that the value addition for different sectors, for spinning something different, textile, technical textile, something different, or in other some manner, there has been a categorization. That would have been better. So these type of things would have been better. One alarming thing which I was not very comfortable, that is not said by the industry to us, but that is my personal view. One of the criteria for selecting a person was how much employment you generate by investing the money. Now, if I go to a industry which is automated, where we find very few people are there, where employees are very few. So are we saying that we are penalizing those people who are getting the technology where it is fully automated? You will not get the rating good, but somebody who is working on a old dated technology where more manpower is required, you are giving incentive to those. So that is my personal view. That is not the industry which has come back and told to us. But that these type of things was, I definitely feel was not up to the mark. So these were the few things which I would say would have been done better. But the
Fine,
scheme was fabulous.
Thank you, Prashant. Your inputs are valuable, and I'm sure that going forward, the ministry will take these also into account, because there is a rationale for everything which is done. You have basically 4 or 5 points. I don't want to repeat them, like a condition for formation of a new company, or only one company from a group company. Or the thirdly, you say HSN based is fine, but the end use need not have been insisted upon. The other one you said about the capital infusion. The capital infusion could have been allowed over a longer period rather than upfront this thing. And then you also talked about value addition, but generally value addition in the sector is pretty high. The fifth one, which you have said about the employment generation, but then that would have come into play only if one has to select company. Now almost all eligible companies have been basically taken, so the selection criteria did not come into play. So even somebody who is not generating much of an employment has got selected. But yes, as I told right in the beginning, the purpose was twofold of the scheme. Primarily, one was to create world champions, and the other was to also generate employment. Actually, in a country like India, where textile sector is known for employment generation, one cannot perhaps wish this away. But anyway, thank you for your inputs. And Gautam, would you like to supplement? I would request you not to repeat any of the points which already Prashant has made actually. In addition to that, would you like to add anything on this?
So I would not like to repeat what Mr. Prashant had mentioned, but one logic which I would like to expand on what Mr. Prashant had mentioned was, in an industry such as textiles, within a period of 2 years, expecting a 200% turnover and then 25% growth, it is quite difficult. See, because the moment you start investing, the moment I invest, let's say 300 crores in the first 2 years, and I go to an capacity utilization of, let's say, 90%, depending on the market demand. The second year or third year onwards, I would not be even able to achieve a 25% year-on-year growth. So I agree with Mr. Prashant on that. One more thing I would like to also highlight is, in fact, one of the players, one of our clients, sir, same parent company, they had multiple applications in PLI, and also a significant investment they had across 2 different product segments completely. One of them was technical textiles and the other was fabric, catering to completely 2 different sections of textiles. So we would request if this specific rule can be relaxed as well. Mr. Prashant has put this across very well. So beyond this, I think he has covered everything, so I wouldn't have anything else to add this.
Fine, thank you very much. But one should, even if somebody is not able to achieve, let's say 25% growth in future, this scheme is such that the very first year he gets very substantial amount. If suppose somebody spends 300 crores and gets the, or maybe even and gets a turnover of 600 crores, then in very first year he will get something like 84 crores or so. So 14% or whatever percentage is there. So one is that the first year is the major year. But yes, your point is very well taken. Now I'll come to Mr. Bhadresh Dodia, because he represents the industry and he is the person basically who is more concerned about man-made fiber and technical textile and their exports. So I would like, instead of talking so much about this scheme, I would like to know from you, do you think that this scheme would be a game changer for textile industry in general and for man-made fiber and technical textile in particular, and why? You will have to.
Yeah, I just did. Thank you, sir. Sir, definitely, what we know is India is very cotton-centric, consumer-based and production-based country. So there was a need for a push in MMF segment, and in the world market, the growth is really driven by MMF segment today. And it's the time where we have to focus on MMF and get into MMF segment. So this scheme couldn't have been better time to come. It has addressed a right issue, that is to promote MMF based and the sunrise sector, which is technical textile. So this will be game changer. While we discuss the technicality of shortcomings and benefits of these schemes, one must bear in mind that over 50 companies have already applied and started working on it. So the fruits from this scheme is due anytime soon. What we anxiously wait is from the ministry is PLI 2, ma'am. So we would want more of MMF segment and HS code to be covered. So, sir, this PLI scheme, we see definitely a good potential. We are aware of the fact that our share in export market is less than 10%. It does not matter which numbers we stand at, but it's less than 10%. And today the global scenario says that there is a need of a world good supplier, a sustainable supplier, and I think this such scheme will only help us achieve that.
Thank you, Bhadresh. Before we, of course, maybe I'll ask later Shubhra about the PLI 2, but before that, very recently, government has decided to open this scheme once again with the same terms and conditions, and I'm told that people can file fresh application, and the last date for filing application is 31st of August actually. So Shubhra can very briefly tell us that what has prompted government to reopen the scheme after the scheme was opened quite some time back again. Shubhra.
So first of all, there are two things. I think I'll be very honest about it. One is, of course, there have been queries from the industry saying, they somehow missed applying, and can they do something about it for applying, especially on the fiber and technical textile segment. So we have been receiving those queries. Even the council, Export Promotion Council, whose chairman Mr. Bhadresh Dodia is, even from that council also we received references that their members have expressed interest that if ever they could again kind of apply, then that would be better. And I would also say that 2-3 points which were mentioned by my co-speakers over here, Mr. Prashant and Mr. Gautam, that there were 2-3 criteria of the scheme which kind of was not liked by the industry. One is that you have to open a new company, and only one from the group company can be applied and all that. Because of that, we have had 6-7 withdrawals of the scheme. So we thought when there is an interest from the industry that they want to join, and then on the specific points, because this is a cabinet approved scheme, then I don't have a scope to change those criteria. And so within the given criteria, when I have interest being expressed by the industry for applying, so why don't we go for the round 2? And that's what Minister Sir, when he learned about this thing, that there is an interest and then there are few withdrawals, then he said the best thing would be just to open it and see. And let me tell you, sir, already we are getting queries as to, because they have some doubts, and we are hoping that in the next 4-5 weeks we'll have new people joining us at the same terms and conditions. So I understand that there's some pinch which was mentioned, but even with that, I am having enough interest from the people to join in the scheme.
Adding,
Okay.
you may allow
Yeah.
to add, Subra ma'am, on this. See, on the point being why this scheme was open, one have to be mindful of the fact that industry were a little confused on top scheme versus this scheme, PLI scheme, which one is beneficial, which one is not. So when PLI was introduced, industry were deliberating kaun si side benefits hai. But now that top scheme is been revived or discontinued for the time being, people have realized the benefit of PLI. And in our council, we received not less than 40 inquiries if they could reapply in the same scheme. So it shows the fact that industry is still looking towards this, and we have already forwarded the list to the ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for honoring our request and accepting. So yeah, this scheme looks promising for the.
Fine, thank you very much. Both the ministry as well as the industry representative is quite hopeful that even without any change in terms and conditions, because any change of terms and conditions would require cabinet approval, and which would be a little difficult to achieve, and especially when a lot of people have started investing with the old terms and conditions. So we'll discuss that later. But first, I would like to also have the views from both Mr. Prashant Rajada and Gautam Jain, because they are the ones who keep interacting with the textile industries, and most of the prospective investors also come to them. So what is their views? First, I'll ask the Prashant, what is your views? Do you think that there would be some good response to the extension of the reopening of the PLI portal for new applications without any change in terms and conditions? Prashant?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, sir. Hello, am I
Yeah.
audible?
Yeah, please.
Sir, as far as opening of a scheme, obviously this is a planned thing which the ministry has done. And I am sure they must be receiving a lot of queries regarding they have missed out, as Shubhra Madam was saying. So in that situation, I think it is a very good step by the ministry to allow those people who are not able to come under the scheme to take a chance there. However, having said so, what we have seen when the PLI scheme was launched initially, the mood in the textile sector was not so upbeat because of the points which I said. But if the ministry is receiving queries that we want to come in, then probably opening a scheme is the right thing, because the whole idea of the ministry at this moment is to promote as much as possible the textile sector. So considering that this is a right step by the ministry, but what I have seen in the industry at the moment, there are few players who felt they have missed out. It was more players were not able to come because of the point which I was mentioning. That was the point, the people are not coming forward. But if the people are coming and the queries are coming up, I think it's a right step, absolutely correct step.
And Gautam, would you like to add anything?
Sir, when the scheme was closed, post that, I mean, we had a lot of inquiry coming in from the industry as well. A couple of them told us that they would still be keen. So I think this is the right step with the ministry has taken, and I believe we would, see a good response from the industry as well. Of course, as we had mentioned, there were certain, hiccups, but I would like to reiterate the fact that none of the textile hubs in Asia currently is providing any kind of incentive as much as what PLI is providing. So from a commercial standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. And as you rightly mentioned, in year one, the amount of incentive is significantly so high that even if you're going to look at it from that standpoint, from a pure investment standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. So basis my understanding of, things, basis my interaction with industry, I believe we would be getting positive response.
Oh, great. So let's hope that this reopening of the scheme and giving more time to the industries will get a very good response from the industry. Let's hope for that. But then we have also been talking of PLI 2, and that discussion is also there for quite some time for two reasons. One reason is that some people feel that because a mention was made by Prashant regarding the employment. Now people feel that all the kind of segments of textile industry are not equally labor intensive. Like one segment which is very labor intensive is garmenting actually. So one view was that there should be an incentive for the garmenting. And of course, there have been demand from the people that why not include even a cotton-based, let's say, textile and all. But more than that, I thought that if there is a PLI 2, then PLI 2 can change terms and conditions from the earlier PLI 1. Maybe incentives could be slightly tweaked, but maybe some of the conditions which is already there, like formation of a new company or a group company, or even allowing the investment over a longer period, or maybe even the requirement of growth at a lesser rate, and all those things could be addressed, maybe a new scheme. Whereas, of course, if you do the same incentive structure, then it would be unfair to the companies which have come in the PLI 1 actually. So PLI 2 from that point of view, in my opinion, also becomes very important actually. So I would like Shubhra, because she deals with this. So there has been a lot of discussion. There has been a lot of, even when I used to be Secretary Textiles, there used to be interaction with the industry and everyone about the PLI 2. So could she throw some light that what is its present status? Are we going to have a PLI 2 soon? And whatever else she can give information at this point of time about the PLI 2. Shubhra.
So as you already know, we had already started the stakeholder consultation. So I will be able to share things which are already in the public domain, which are already part of stakeholder consultations. This time we had, because somehow last time there was consultation, ministry claims, but a lot of people said no, there were not enough consultations. So this time the process of consultation was again very openly kind of, in different stages it was done. Like it was done at the secretary level, then it was done at the ministry level. So we had a series of stakeholder consultations, and the points which were raised here by two consultants and the industry, we have tried to kind of accommodate and draft and formulate a scheme which takes care of it. But the point is, we have drafted, but that has made it kind of broad-based, because then it is fiber neutral. Now, when it is fiber neutral and it is not focused, mind you, the PLI is not run-of-the-mill kind of a scheme. It was supposed to be specialized, it's supposed to be focused, it's supposed to address something which, would not have happened if PLI was not there. So we have, of course, when we have formulated, we have noted down and we have mentioned that this is what the industry demand is. So we are, that has been submitted for the government for government consideration. So we are hopeful, and let us keep our fingers crossed, and all of you also can wish us and yourself a good luck so that it comes through fast. It's difficult to give a timeline, but definitely the formulation part is complete and it is under consideration, so at the highest level.
Oh, thank you. What you said, very important. The first point you made, this came to my notice also, because I also joined when already PLI 1 was at a very advanced stage, kind of already has gone for the cabinet approval and all. So even though it was said that there was a widespread consultation, but then what happens that basically what you reveal during consultation becomes very important actually. In the sense that the devil lies in details, as they say, the fine prints. And the fine prints, people say that, okay, there would be a minimum requirement of investment, there would be minimum requirement of turnover, there would be minimum growth. But what is that growth going to be? What is the minimum investment going to be? What is the minimum turnover going to be? Generally, we don't share with the industry on the ground that usually these are the something which is confidential or secret or something. So from that point of view, as you rightly said, that this time consultation has been very, very wide. But it has a flip side in the sense that everybody wants to have a pie in a scheme which is, as you very rightly said, which is supposed to be a very focused and specialized kind of scheme, and to create world champions in the areas where we don't have world champions actually. So of course, one part is that how broad-based you will make this PLI 2, but the other part would be that some of the lessons which we have learned or the challenges which we have faced in the previous because every time going to the cabinet is not possible. So maybe some kind of authorization can be taken in PLI 2, that any amendment to the scheme can be done either in the PLI 1 or PLI 2. That would be something which will be very good actually. So yes, we do hope that PLI 2 also comes soon, but let's what is the expectations, or what should be kind of broad parameters of PLI 2? Let me get back to Prashant Rajada first.
Sir, if I see what is the learning from PLI 1, as I mentioned, there are 4 or 5 points which has to be taken care in PLI 2. This is the first thing. I definitely give a lot of respect to Ms. Shubhra, and I'm sure the ministry is getting many applications in spite of some challenges in the scheme. But if there is one challenge also, then the government can change the scheme for the PLI 2, and these small hurdles which the people were feeling, those can go away. And because I understand whatever the knowledge in the common domain is, it is not a very heavy investment sort of a thing is required. So it will be better if we have a relaxed conditions for people to go in. So that is the learning that we have from PLI 1. Those shortcomings should be removed from here. 1 or 2 the final points that you were talking about, sir. If I look to the PLI 1 scheme, the PLI 1 scheme was saying that your investment will be considered when the plant and machinery is capitalized. Now, if I look to the food PLI scheme, this is a big issue. What happened there is, the same condition was there, that date of capitalization will be considered as investment has been done. Rightly so, because it should not so happen that the business houses buy plant and machinery, show the invoices, and then never install it. And later on they sell it back, and they are entitled for the investment because they have done the investment, and there is a problem because they had never been installed as such. These type of thing needs to be clarified in PLI 2. Okay, date of capitalization is right, but you have to buy the plant and machinery during that gestation period. It should not so happen that you have bought a machine 2 years ago, it was not in use, it was a new machine, you put a new machine after 2 years, you said I capitalized and I've done it. So these type of clarification should be mentioned in PLI 2. Second thing is, what is generally happening, sir? I met the biggest player in the world, which is into manufacturing of zips. And I was talking to them on PLI 2. And to my surprise, they said, "Hey, Prashant, we don't know anything about PLI 2, what is coming out." I said, there is, whatever there is in the common domain, that is for everybody, and you can also read. So he said, no, the finer points which you are telling us, sir, those things they want to read, because they said the decision will be taken by the overseas parent company. We want to invest, but before the investment, we should have all the details. But if those details are told to the industry, maybe 6 months or 4 months before the launch of the scheme, that is not a sufficient time for the overseas players to invest. So those things should be taken into account when the PLI 2 has been launched.
Thank you, Prashant, for very valuable inputs. The only thing is, see, the ministry proposes, but the final decision, as you know, the system is taken by the cabinet actually. Yeah. Now, if we say something that this would be done, we cannot be say with 100% certainty. We can only say that, yes, this is our proposal. For example, about these accessories, I think the PLI 2, it was discussed that even accessories, JFs, fasteners, everything, they are also very important actually. And I'm sure that that would be kept. But then 6 months in advance before the cabinet approval, one cannot with certainty say that this would be there, because final decisions would be that of the cabinet actually. And there could be some modifications, even though by and large, whatever is the final proposal goes to the cabinet, gets approved. Gautam, would you like to add?
Yes, I would like to add a few points here.
Yeah.
In terms of PLI 2, in case of PLI 1, the focus was more on the end products and fabrics. And I don't exactly know which products are covered in PLI 2, but I would request, if at all, certain functional fibers. So, for instance, the high value winter products and a lot of athleisure and sports products which are available in the market, in the stores of Nikes and Uniqlos and so on, they have functional fiber in them. So when we talk about really, building on Make in India and so on, I believe functional fibers also need to be included if they've not been included before. In addition to this, I would also like to highlight, when you're reaching out to stakeholders, the one set of stakeholders who we don't usually interact with is the global brands and retailers. The reason why I would like to highlight the fact that we need to also reach out to them is, usually a lot of the sourcing which happens, it is usually done 4-5 seasons in ahead. And if a lot of them are trying to move out of China, but only for certain products and segments. So if we can align our PLI more with the requirement of the global brands and retailers, even that would, over a period of time, help India become an alternate to China, truly an alternate to China across the value chain in man-made fiber. So one request I would have is, if at all, a session can be done with a lot of country managers of a lot of these brands who are based in India, because a lot of investment, which if you look at the trend of what had happened in Vietnam a couple of years back, a decade back, was a lot of brands had asked their major manufacturers to move to Vietnam. And that's how we have seen a lot of large scale investments happening in Vietnam. So in my opinion, we need to also interact with, those stakeholders. We can't let them, because a lot of the exports, happens basis what kind of sourcing strategies these brands have, what product segments they decide to source out of India. In addition to this, I would also like to highlight a fact that one segment of the market, which we don't focus much during our interactions, is home textiles. We call it made-ups, and that is, within the bracket within which home textiles, captures. But when we look at the positioning of India, even at the global level, we are quite comfortably positioned in the home textiles market, and from an Indian consumption standpoint as well. So in my opinion, if at all we can also include these products. So these are, home textiles is one specific segment where a decent amount of sourcing happens out of India already. If we can, push this overall over a period of maybe 3 to 5 years, as Sir had mentioned, we may recapture our old glory as well. So these would be a few pointers I would like to mention here. The technicalities part of it, I agree with Mr. Prashant, what he mentioned.
Fine, thank you very much. Very valid points. Bhadresh, would you like to say anything which you would like to be there in PLI 2, as and when it comes?
Sir, PLI 2, I know we would want the processing industry to be covered, but there are challenges in involving processing industry, because we all are aware of the fact that investment to turnover ratio is less than 1 in processing unit today. So our discussion with the ministry is ongoing. We are taking consultation from our members on how do we plug this weakest link and put it in PLI 2. There is no doubt of the fact that we all realize processing industry needs to be covered. But how do we, since the frame has been already fixed in PLI, how do we fixing processing industry into this is a technicality of it, which we are dealing with ministry today. I'm sure we'll find some solution to it. So PLI 2, apart from garmenting, if we can cover processing, that would be a big plus to the industry.
Well, thank you very much. Whether the processing, the fact remains that yes, we do all recognize that processing is one of our weakest links actually. Now, whether processing, the weakness in processing sector is addressed by PLI too, or whether it will be addressed under some other schemes, that is something which ministry has to mull. Now now I'll come with the last set of questions, but before that, I just had a look at some of the messages which have come. I don't think it should be my job really to reply to them, but couple of them I'll just very briefly mention. Someone mentioned about the GST for the textiles. Now, I would say that this would not be basically a subject which can be either PLI 1 or PLI 2, because you know GST rates decisions are taken by the GST councils where states are also represented actually. So that is something which is not really connected with the PLI. Someone talked of Bangladesh, actually Bangladesh policy, or yes, whenever you talk to someone, they say a small country like Bangladesh has done so well, why we have lagged behind. The fact remains that generally all these statements are made based on the export figures actually. And at one point of time, we were the second largest exporter. We fell down to sixth, and now perhaps we are third or fourth actually. So we are covering the grounds as far as exports is concerned. But there are a few things which one should always. It's not just exports actually. India has a huge domestic market actually, which no other country, perhaps other than China, has to cater to such a huge domestic market. And we have some other disadvantage apart from fragmented value chain and the scale, problem of a scale, which Shubhra mentioned in the beginning. We have that. Even though you go to the Bangladesh, they have the scale we don't have, which will come through schemes like PM Mitra and all. But the another exports always is that Bangladesh has an advantage of almost 9% of import duty in a European market, and 9% is a fairly big margin, I must say actually. Then of course there are other, for example, someone has written that turnover to investment ratio of 2:1 is very high and all. But anyway, that's what I'm saying, that all these lessons learned or the pinpoints or the pain points of the previous PLI hopefully would be addressed in PLI 2. Now let's come to a last set of questions in the sense that textile. So what I would like to know from Shubhra first, that is kind of a, do you expect that PLI itself would be kind of adequate for kind of, what should I say, if I use the word that our recovering our lost glory kind of in textile, as some people say, or does the government have some other things also which combined with the PLI can be a real game changer for the textile industry?
Sir, I would say PLI will address some of the disabilities. We have done a lot of, there is in the government and everywhere in the private sector also, there's a lot of analysis of disability factors. Now, disability factor, when I'm saying from, how we are vis-a-vis the, neighboring economies or the world economies, and you can calculate it by as to what is our wage structure, what is our logistics cost, how is our infrastructure placed, what is the cost of capital, interest rates, and all these things, if you convert them into points, so they will arrive at something like a, disability factor. So I would say PLI will address only some of them because we are fragmented, we are small, so we are a little inefficient, or the bulk orders cannot be addressed by one company. All those kind of factors, they will be addressed by PLI. Yes, the new investment will come. It will be like a I can say catalyst to the sector, which is needed because we have been stagnating at a certain number domestically and internationally. So we need to break out of that orbit. We have been just circulating in the same orbit. So for that, yes, PLI is the let us say provides a kick or the catalyst to come out of that stagnant orbit. Now, what are we doing other than PLI? I would say that we have the people of the sector would know that there is a national technical textile mission, which is a budget outlay of rupees 1,400 crore. Their R&D is supported. Their many other marketing of technical textile is supported. So technical textile, as what is technical textile? Any functional textile is a technical is considered a technical textile. So the upper of the shoe, or the performance wear, or the ropes, or the fishnet, or let us say the tents or the architectural things which are used, everything falls into the category of technical textile, right from bulletproof jackets to fire retardant cloth, and everything else falls. So there is a lot of R&D is needed to make a simple fabric or a fiber into an advanced fiber and fabric with extra properties, and that converts it into. So the ministry is supporting a scheme. They brought in a scheme which supports that, and we are besides that, of course, the concept is that one should not export the taxes and levies, and we do suffer again, that's one of the disabilities, is that we have levies in the taxes structure. So we do have ROSCTL and ROTTEP in place, so that kind of gives a rebate or a remission of those taxes and this thing, so it gives a competitive advantage to an exporter. And of course, to deal with the disability of infra, we have one major scheme which is in short, we call it PM Mitra Park, Prime Minister's mega integrated textile regions and apparel parks. So PM Mitra Park, that is kind of, we thought, let the whole value chain come at one place, and so the fiber to fabric doesn't have to travel from one end of the country to another end, and which in itself, the logistic cost of the whole thing traveling across the country is more than 15%. So let's create a region which is like a township of textiles. So the yarn people, the spinners are sitting there, the weavers are sitting there, the garmenters are sitting there. So we have envisaged this scheme whereby we said, okay, let these 1,000-acre areas be there. And we have involved state also in it, because in our earlier one, we had another park scheme, which was a very small park scheme, but the state government was not there. So our experience was that one has to have a state as a partner to make it a success. So in this scheme, it's a partnership of center and state, and state is contributing by way of land parcel, which is at least 1,000 acre, and minimum at least 50% will be for manufacturing areas. It can be more also, depending on what is the structure which is planned for that area. And we are expecting some private money to come in. Presently, state industrial corporations have shown a lot of interest, and we are expecting that the private industry also comes. Like there was a talk about like other outside investors should be looked at. So my thought would be, yes, why not? But the interest from the foreign investors is very limited. There is more of talk, but less of actual investment. So the real investment still comes from within India. So we are hoping that when these, that scheme, that budget outlay is 4,400 crore area में उसका turnover है, और वो next 7-8 years में पार्क बन के आएंगे. उसमें सब कुछ हो सकता है, उसमें सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हो सकता है, उसमें R&D स्ट्रक्चर हो सकता है, उसमें मैन्युफैक्चरिंग फैसिलिटीज होगी, उसमें ETPs बनाई जाएंगी. So because that is also one of the challenge, अगर आपका क्योंकि polluting industry थोड़ी कहलाती है, especially on the processing front. So वो एक बहुत बड़ा continuous challenge रहता है कि अगर आप अपनी कंपनी जाके खोलते हैं, even PLI वाले पर्सन ने जो खोला हुआ है अभी, जैसे हमारा एक बहुत बड़ा इन्वेस्टर है गोवा ग्लास, is facing a lot of issues in the state of Goa because he has to take permission. So we are trying to help him, to sort out those things. So if that park is there, which is already cleared from environment side, so that helps him kickstart his project much faster. So we in government are very excited about these parks, and 7 have already been approved in different areas, which are already doing a lot of work in textiles like Gujarat, Maharashtra, UP, MP, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, and Karnataka. These are already known to be textile, a lot of the textile ecosystem states. Surprisingly, the states which provide a lot of labor, those are still a little behind. Maybe in times to come, and if the state thinks and the industry thinks, maybe there should be a kind of a scheme which is like a small park, mid-sized park, because some of the states have a lot of labor, but they are not they are not able to invite attract investment. So something like that. So it's a very ongoing, evolving field. And but the most important thing is that the textile stakeholders, the textile companies, they need to start working out of their comfort zone. There are textile players who belong to 3rd generation, 4th generation, 6th generations, but they're still doing the same thing. So here the objective of the ministry is just kind of create an ecosystem that you really need to move on and think big and do big.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you, Shubhra. In fact, I propose that maybe after some time we will have a separate kind of a 1 hour webinar on mega textile parks, because they would be equally as far as the being a game changer is concerned, because that's inspired by Honorable Prime Minister's vision of 5F, and that will not only address the fragmentation issue, the very high cost of logistics. We are not able to, when we give a very large order, our companies are not able to meet that large order, and that goes to Bangladesh. There are a lot of so we like to do that, maybe a full session on mega textile parks. But as you rightly said, the PLI along with mega textile park, maybe along with National Technical Textile Mission, hopefully some kind of a scheme which is a successor scheme to tough in some form, maybe some scheme for machine manufacturing, because in India, apart from a spinning sector, we depend a lot of on imported machineries. So maybe all that together, perhaps apart from RFCT and RODTAP, where the industries get incentive for export, all those together could be a game changer. So what I would do right now, that I would basically ask the other three panelists that this would be the last. And this is not necessarily with the PLI 2. In fact, I would like very briefly to tell them that what do you think, apart from, let's say, a PLI 2 you already discussed, maybe what do you think the ministry or the government kind of on policy or their schemes could do to make a textile a real vibrant sector, or a so I will start with Prashant.
Sir,
Briefly.
honestly speaking, PLI is an icing on a cake for a manufacturer. No manufacturer takes a decision to set up a plant only because there is a PLI scheme. I'm not talking of textile. I'm talking in general. That is not the way to plan. The planning goes on a different fashion. So what we need to ensure in India, the cost of production should come down. That is one, sir. Now, how the cost of production can come down? There are a number of things, number of schemes the government of India is floating, but the problem is people are not aware. Whether there is a mover scheme, you can import at a lower custom or zero custom duty and deferment of custom duties and all that. People are not aware of these schemes. There should be an educational session like what you are taking, sir. People should know. If you want to put a factory, these are the advantages. Second thing, what is happening, sir? In certain states, only 8 states are there in India who has got dedicated textile policy. These type of states who are dedicatedly having a textile policy, I believe that the Ministry of Textile should try to help them out, because if they have a dedicated policy, that means they are very much interested that textile should grow. So there are two benefits generally that they give. One is on the capital subsidy. Someone who is investing money, they will give a capital subsidy and the lower rate of electricity or subvention of the interest, the loan that you have taken. The ministry can join hand with these 8 states and say how they can help in developing the textile sector. And the last point that I can think about is there are certain products from India which are exported, like Bhagalpur silk. There is a heavy demand when it comes to Bhagalpur silk in Europe and US. So these type of product, which we know that there is a demand in the market, Ministry of Textile can work along with the states and ensure that these are the 10 products which has got a market. Let's channelize them, because they are not channelized people. They are unorganized people. So ministry can help in ensuring the exports. Very quickly, these 2-3 points, I think the government can think about.
Very valid points, because it is not only the government of India schemes. The states are very important players actually. So the incentives given under the state industrial policy, or specifically for the policy for textiles, is very important actually. In fact, whenever, as you very rightly said, of course, industry is not set up only because of the incentives, but if the state's incentive and central incentives, both of them converge, and some of the non-traditional textile states. You talked of Bhagalpur, but then Bihar is not known for a very big textile kind of a ecosystem. But today, Bihar has come out with a policy, which is perhaps one of the most liberal policy as far as the textiles is concerned. And some beginning has been made. I know about a company which was a leather company, now is setting up a textile unit there in Bihar. So that point is also very well taken. Very quickly to Gautam and then finally to Bhadresh. Gautam.
Sir, I would like to add on the fact that, in terms ease of doing business in textiles is something which we need to focus on. There is a lot of logistics cost and, other costs involved. One thing I would like to request is, even though this may not be, the platform to talk about PM Mitra, but with 7 different parks, basis the location, basis the region, if they can be specialized on certain 2-3 segments of textiles, because imagine a 1,000-acre technical textile park where you have everything. It's more like an entire cluster what we have, in China and so on. If I'm gonna have technical textile units spread across 7 different parks, the ecosystem which is required to grow around it would be very limited. So that is one area I believe we need to really focus on. There is a lot of also organic cotton is one thing which we have completely missed out. When we talk about, sir, sometime back I had interaction with a lot of global brands. One thing they told me was India is running behind man-made fiber, but India's biggest strength is organic cotton. If I can bring a traceability element to organic cotton, India, a couple of brands have already pledged that over 40%, 40 to 50% of the entire sourcing would be done in organic cotton by 2030. So the market opportunity we have in organic cotton is something we need to also look at, because that way, cotton being our strength, we can augment on it. And as rightly mentioned, sir, there has to be a very strong center state play there. What I would suggest is, even if you can have like a textile, if you can have a committee kind of something wherein all the industrial, IDCs of all the states regularly interact with Ministry of Textiles. And certain states like Maharashtra also has a textile ministry in place. If we can enable all of them, I believe over the next 2 to 3 years, we can really see this sector growing significantly vibrant. Sir, and also interestingly, in states such as Bihar, which we mentioned on Northeast, there's a lot of handloom and handicraft. When we keep talking about, large scale production and so on, this segment can grow in those areas where there is not so much focus on large scale investment, but smaller investments can be made, MSMEs can be promoted. So, considering the diversity of the country, depending at a regional or a state level, I believe a lot of, opportunities are there which can be tapped.
Thank you very much. One point which you made was very important about the ease of doing business actually. What Chubra said, that there are not many foreign players have come, but I think there's a lot of scope for the foreign players if they can go and set up a shop in China. Now they don't want to set up that shop in China for different regions. Everybody understand. They went to Vietnam in very large numbers actually, so there is no reason why they can't come to. But yes, there are, in spite of our best efforts to work towards ease of doing business, still there are certain pinpricks actually which we need to address. And the other point also you made was very important. I also felt as a Secretary of Textile when I was there that our interaction with the states are not to the desired extent actually. Only after maybe this a PLI and PM Mitra has come, maybe our interactions have increased, but otherwise our interactions have been limited, whereas both the states and center has to work together for the development of the sector. Okay, so thank you very much. And Bhadresh ji, you will like to have some words in the end.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to make it a little brief, though I wanted to say more. Sir, एक तो अब तक का जो approach रहा है, that has not really helped India export, though we are able to cater to our domestic industry per se. But the approach has been little bit in a piecemeal sector. के यहाँ पे बनाओ और ये बनाओ. That's where the subsidy will come in. But the whole supply chain in the world today is linked to the market access with zero duty or lower duty. So I understand of the fact that FTA for India is very complicated than a smaller country, because we are also giving access to a larger population, which we need to protect. So that's something which as a central government can do to bring the world market to Indian, and automatically market will align their requirement and decide where to produce and how to produce. That's something which I feel must be expedited. Second point in this is we have to think about the future textiles, future textile policy, sustainability, that will also make the world come to us today, because I believe it's a lost ground already to other players in the world market, but textile is evolving. You will soon see a new textile norms from EU in terms of what they like to import and how it should be produced. They are already talking about carbon tax, cross-border tax, and all those, and textile will be soon part of it. So if we can align our textile policy with future textile, the world will always be first come to us and then go to the different sector. One small example I would like to give is in recycling industry of plastic, where I'm also involved. Our government have already mandated our bottlers to use compulsory 30% of their consumption by start of next year. However, in Europe, the mandate will only be live up to 30% by 2027. So we are much ahead of the world in terms of bringing the policy which are sustainable. So we will be equipped when the world would want a sustainable product in the supply chain. So that's something, two things, sir. One is if we can work on future textile and launch a future textile policy as soon as possible, that will help us gain new grounds.
Thank you very much. A very important point you made about the sustainability. In fact, one full session could be perhaps devoted to sustainable textiles, actually, because that's not only that you are doing out of courtesy or something, or out of this is fast becoming a necessity, actually. So maybe we would not be able to export if our textile is not sustainable. And earlier also the point was made about the organic cotton. Not only organic cotton, there are now, when we talked earlier of natural fibers, we primarily talked only cotton and maybe to some extent jute and silk, actually. But today you have such products like you have a hemp. You must have seen a lot of bags being made out of hemp, actually. Banana fiber, bamboo fiber. So of course there is a need to work on those also, that we also have a lot of strength in natural fibers. So while we do concentrate on man-made fiber and technical textile, we should also kind of leverage our strength as far as the natural fiber is concerned. So anyway, friends, now this is one topic where one could talk even more, but then we had kept 1 hour. We have overshot by 10 to 12 minutes. So I'll stop here. I'll take this opportunity to thank all 4 of you who, in spite of your busy schedule, you have found time. I am a superannuated person to have all the times at my command, actually, but all of you are very busy people. But what I would also like to thank once again a resurgent and especially Mr. Gadia. And I do hope that maybe every 15 days or every month I will like, because I have my experiences are in many sectors, actually, whether it's in oil and gas, whether it's a steel, whether it's a water, whether it's agriculture. So maybe with some, I would like to have such a knowledge series webinar from time to time, which I am sure that would certainly benefit not only people in the sector, but common people as well. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, participants, also for being there. Thank you, sir. Thank you for
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, the audiences.
Thank you, Resurgent India.